All right, so good morning. I'm Tim Owens, and I am the University Training Manager here at the University of North Texas and Associate Director of the North Texas chapter of the National Coalition Building Institute, NCBI. NCBI is an international leadership development organization. It's based in Washington, D.C., but it started actually in New York City. And ultimately what its intent is to try to help people figure out how to build and maintain a sense of community amongst people of diverse backgrounds. Yeah? So, appreciate your time. Won't take a whole lot of it, but wanted to actually share a few things with you. And I'd like to pose a central question today. How do we go about building and maintaining a sense of community amongst people of diverse backgrounds? And so as we talk a little bit today, if you would, think about that as we go forward. NCBI has a few operational assumptions that I think that we tend to operate based on. And I'll just share a couple of them with you. The first is that guilt is a glue, and it tends to hold prejudice in place. Guilt is a glue, and it tends to hold prejudice in place. What might I mean by that? Ted, what do you think? Guilt is a glue, and it tends to hold prejudice in place.
It's hard for people to get rid of their old points of view.
Okay, absolutely. Let's say I tell you an offensive joke, right? And you let me know in no uncertain terms you were totally and completely offended by the joke I told you. First of all, does that mean I stop telling the joke?
No, you should, but why?
I probably won't tell you anymore, right? But ultimately, what happens in that process is that I become defensive, right? And have you ever tried to convince somebody who's being defensive of anything? I mean, it's impossible to do that because they're not listening to you, are they? Right? So ultimately, if you make me feel defensive for having told you that joke, what happens then is I become further entrenched in the thoughts, feelings, attitudes, behaviors that cause me to feel comfortable telling you the joke to begin with, right? So we don't really believe that guilt is a very helpful emotion in trying to make people help people to shift their attitudes and their behavior. So guilt is a glue, and it tends to hold prejudice in place. That's the first one. Secondly, the second operational assumption we have is that we've all learned misinformation and stereotypical information about people who are not like us, right? Where does that come from?
Family.
Sometimes it comes from our family. Where else?
Our
Friends. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
On the grapevine.
The grapevine. And sometimes, well-meaning though they may be, even our religious institutions and our educational institutions. Right? But it comes from everywhere. It's tough to miss. So we've all learned misinformation and stereotypical information about other people. The last one I want to share with you is that if I really want to help someone else to begin to shift their thinking, their attitude, their behavior, I have to first start with who?
Me.
With yourself.
Absolutely. I have to first start with me, right? Any Michael Jackson fans in the room?
No.
Anybody not afraid to admit they're a Michael Jackson fan? You know? I like some of his older stuff, right? No, but he had a song, and some of the words are, I'm looking at the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to make a change. No message could have been any clearer. If you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make a change. Or whatever you know. Somebody normally beats me to that. Anyway, yeah, but if I want to help someone else to begin to shift their attitude, their thinking, their behavior, I have to first start with me, right? Absolutely. So those are some of the operational assumptions this work is based on. So, you know, if you would take that into consideration as we go forward. So let me ask this. How many have had the experience of leaving an outgoing message on their answering machine, your voice message, right? Hi, this is Tim, leave a message at the beep. We've all had that, haven't we? Mm-hmm. Well, if you're the perfectionist that I am, about the 7th time you record it, right? You get it exactly perfect this time. You play it back and you hear something in the background. Yeah? Something you didn't intend to be on the tape. A dog barking, a coworker talking too loudly, somebody playing their music too loud. It was just a part of the environment at the time the tape was being made, right? But it wasn't something you intended to be on the tape. Well, in NCBI, we really believe that we are born as blank tapes. And sometimes things get on our tapes that we don't intend to be there. And when I say things, I mean stereotypical information and misinformation, especially about people who are not like us, right? The problem is, if left uninspected, the things that are on our tapes can sometimes tend to drive our behavior. We all have stuff on our tapes, right? As a matter of fact, I'm going to demonstrate that to you. I'm going to say the word Martian, right? Martian. And I want you to say the very first thing that comes to mind. I'm going to say it several different times in several different ways. I want you just to blurt out the very first thing that comes to mind when I say the word Martian. Here we go. Ready? Martian.
Hey.
Martian.
Unidentified creature.
And last one. Martian.
Friendly.
What is that?
Friendly.
Name?
My favorite Martian? yeah. Well, we all had something come up when I said the word Martian, right? Whether you chose to say it out loud or not. But how many of us have actually met a Martian? Don't answer that. I don't want to know. Purely rhetorical question. Yet, you know, we all had something come up when I said the word Martian. If we would do that for something that could be a complete figment of our imagination, what about people? What about people? You think there might be some things on our tapes about people? Exactly. Well, here's the deal. If left uninspected, as I said earlier, the things that are on our tapes can sometimes tend to drive our behavior. I'll give you an example. One time, when I first got to the University of North Texas, I was recruiting students. And they sent me on this recruitment trip in Houston one time, and I was in Houston. Anybody from Houston? I just want to apologize in advance before I. No, Houston's a great place. But in any case, I was on a recruitment trip in Houston, and I was in they gave us these big vans, right? These big 16-passenger urban assault vehicles, I used to call them, and it had big UNT on the side. Well, anyway, I'm in Houston, and it's dusk dark. It's been a long day. I'm tired. I'm just kind of zoning out. I'm headed back to my hotel, right? And I'm in a tough neighborhood, tough part of Houston. I'm sitting at a stoplight, yeah? And there's this overpass nearby, and I'm just kind of zoned out listening to music, and all of a sudden, I feel this presence at my window, right? So I look, and there's this guy standing in my window. So I'm like, click, trying to make sure where everything's locked. And he sees that, I'm a little startled and stuff, so he gives me this big toothless grin. Turns out he's a panhandler and he wants some money to buy some food or something. And I told him I work for the state, I don't have any money. But in any case, he sees me. But here's the deal. What was on my tape was, you're in Houston, Texas, tough neighborhood, it's dusk dark, you're at a stoplight, you're near an overpass, he's about to carjack you. That's what was on my tape. He wanted the van. Now, I didn't want the van. I'm not sure why I would have thought he wanted it, but the point is this. What if, that's what was on my tape, right? What if I had a gun in the car and in that moment had felt threatened enough to use it on him? Now you could argue that, well, maybe he could have been there to harm me. But here's the point. If left uninspected, the things that are on my tape can sometimes tend to drive my behavior. Now here's the deal. We don't want to explore what's on our tape, do we? Right? But the only way to begin to exchange the misinformation that's on your tape for the stereotypical information that's there is to first of all do what?
Inspect it.
Exactly. You got to play the tape.
That's right.
You got to play the tape. Now, most of the time we're like, look, I'm okay, you're okay, let's just be okay, okay? We don't want to go there, right? But again, if left uninspected, the things that are there can sometimes tend to drive our behavior. So it's good to know. So the question is what's on your tape about people who are not like you? What's on your tape? And so anyway, those are some things to take into consideration to think about. Let me ask this. if what's on side A of my tape is stereotypical misinformation about people who are not like me, what might be on side B of my tape? Stereotypical misinformation about people who are like me. The technical term for that is internalized oppression. Internalized oppression. Every group has some internalized oppression. Who tells the most blonde jokes? Typically people who are blonde. You know, who tells the most Polish jokes? Often people who are Polish. You know, that kind of thing. Again, every group has internalized oppression. So that's that. I think I'll wrap up our time together with this, but I want to leave you with some skill building pieces. And I like to characterize them this way: stop, look, and listen. Right? We're talking about building and maintaining a sense of community. How do you go about doing that? First of all, stop. Stop the tape. Understand what's there. Begin to exchange the misinformation, the stereotypical information, for quality information about real people. Yes? Stop the tape. Secondly, look. Look for common ground. As human beings, we have a whole lot more in common than we do different. But it's the differences that tend to stand out. Yeah? So we have to look for the commonality. Somebody said, do fish know they're wet? What do y'all think? Do fish know they're wet?
No,
No.
they don't know that. They don't know what it is.
Well, they certainly know when they're dry, right? Yeah. So the issue is this. You know, but water is as common to fish as our commonalities are to us as human beings, right? And so unless we're intentional about looking for them, it's difficult often to see them. So stop the tape, look for common ground, and while you're looking, look for the ouch. Look for the ouch. What we know is that people who tend to mistreat other people have often themselves been mistreated. Now, does that excuse their mistreatment of other people? No, but it might help to explain it. So that ultimately you can do something, you can develop a strategy for dealing with it effectively. So stop the tape, look for common ground, look for the ouch, and finally listen. If all else fails, just listen. If all else fails, just listen. What we know, what we believe is that listening is a revolutionary act. Somebody said that people don't care what you know until they first know that you care. And they determine whether or not you care, but whether or not you're willing to listen to them until they feel completely heard. Until they feel completely heard. So as we stop, look, and listen, ultimately I really believe we can be successful in building and maintaining the sense of community, the sense of team that we'd really like to see happen. Thanks for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity. Have a great day.
All right.